Yes, hamjambo, familia. Welcome to the Swahili classes for the weekend. I do hope that you're doing wonderful. Karibu sana. In Swahili, we do say karibuni sana to this particular class. Remember, you can always ask a question. In Swahili, we do say tafadhali uliza swali. And if you haven't joined us for previous classes, you can always check out some of the archives of the previous classes on YouTube. Just head over to Swahili class for the weekend on BlackHotFire, or you can also find them on BlackHotFire Africa. And you can be able to subscribe, follow, comment, and also engage with us on our social media platforms. Like I did say, if you want to shoot us an email, you can feel free to do so. You can write to blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com. And once you have written to us via email, we shall be able to respond to you promptly. Regarding any question, I always do say that if you're asking a question, we do say uliza swali. And from my end, I would actually give you an answer, which is nikupe zibu. How are you doing? How are you feeling? I do hope that your weekend is wonderful. And of course, being on the 29th day of the month of March, I do know that the month has moved pretty fast. And next week, we shall be jumping into April. And I'm hoping that whatever you had set to achieve at this particular point of the year, that you will actually coming along well, and that you are actually achieving it nice and easy. If not, I do know that things will actually shape up. You just have to keep a positive and optimistic kind of a mindset, and you will be able to achieve whatever you set your mind to achieve. This is Swahili class for the weekend. We normally do it on Saturdays and on Sundays, and today being on a Sunday, we shall pick it up from where we left yesterday. We were learning about noun classes. In Swahili, we do say nouns are known as nomino or majina. And if you're talking about the noun classes, we call them ngeli za nomino. And ngeli za nomino we happen to have 9 noun classes. And these noun classes, they do have the singular form of them and the plural form of them. So therefore, the noun classes in total are 18 noun classes. And these noun classes, most of them, they comprise things that have to do, for example, with the inanimate objects, like the second class of nouns. Yesterday, we learned that the second class of nouns is called the key V class of noun. And this key V class of noun, it mostly constitutes of items that are inanimate. For example, we are talking about a knife. A knife, we do say kisu. For the Swahili word for a knife, it's kisu. But when you're talking about the plural form of it, we do say visu. So the singular, it's kisu for a knife, for one knife. But if you're talking about many knives, you would say visu. So this word, or the noun kisu, it falls in the key V class of noun. If you're talking about a book, maybe perhaps you have one book and you have bought a book, you might say nunua kitabu. Kitabu is a word which falls under, it's a noun which falls under the key V class of noun. And therefore, one book would be kitabu. For one book, it would be kitabu. For two books, you would say vitabu. So in the singular, it's kitabu. In the plural, it's vitabu. And therefore, it falls in the key V class of nouns. Apart from that, you have other examples that you shared yesterday. For example, kio. Kio simply means a mirror. If you're looking at yourself on the mirror, you would say kio. But that is one mirror. If you have more than one mirrors, you would say vio. Vio. So that also falls in the key V class of nouns, which is a second class of nouns, or in the second, what you call ngeli za nomino. The other example that you can give is a key. If you're talking about your keys, you have keys in your pocket, the keys to your house, keys to your car, just any key, you would say kifunguo, kifunguo. And that is one key. But if you're talking about many keys, you would say vifunguo, vifunguo. For example, if your key is lost, you would say kifunguo changu kimepotea. Kifunguo changu kimepotea. But if you're talking about many keys, you would say vifunguo vyangu vimepotea. Vifunguo vyangu vimepotea. Apart from that, we have many other examples. But what you have to note that the class of nouns, this class of noun, it starts with all nouns that start with the syllable ki in their singular, and it starts with the syllable v in their plural form. For example, kifunguo, vifunguo. If you're talking about a broom, whatever you use to sweep a house or a compound, you would say kifagio, kifagio, kifagio. But if you're talking about many brooms, you would say vifagio. So this is a key V, K-I-V-I. It's a class of nouns, the second class of nouns. The first class of nouns that we also learned yesterday was the wa, the wa. or the a or a. The or a class of noun is also the a or a class of noun in Swahili. So this constitutes all the words that have to do with living things and human beings. Living things and human beings. For example, if you're talking about a farmer, you would say mkulima. So this class of noun, the or a, starts with all the words that start with the consonant in their singular, and it also starts with the syllable wa in their plural. For example, kulima. If you're talking about a student, you would say mwanafunzi for one student. But if you're talking about many students, you would say wanafunzi. Mwanafunzi, wanafunzi. That is the way you do say it. But if you're talking about, for example, someone who is what other example can I give? Maybe a director of a company, you would say mkurugenzi, 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 one director. But if it's many directors, you would say wakurugenzi, wakurugenzi, and that is another example of the ngeli za nomino in the first class of noun that constitute and basically constitutes people and living things. That is the wa or the a wa. You would say mkulima analima shamba, mkulima analima shamba for the singular. But if you go to the plural, you would say wakulima wanalima shamba, wakulima wanalima shamba. The same applies for if you're talking about a baby. In Swahili, you say mtoto. A baby, mtoto, that is for a baby in Swahili. Mtoto, it is a baby in Swahili. But if you're talking about many babies, you would say watoto. You would say watoto. In the same regard, you would say watoto. So mtoto, watoto. But apart from that, you can also talk about maybe things like a wife. If you talk about a wife, you would say mke, mke for one wife, mke, mke wako. That is for one wife. But if you're talking about many wives, you would say wake, wake, W-A-K-E, wake, for the wives of, for example, if someone is polygamous and they have 3 wives, you would say wake, wake. But if it's one, you would say mke, for one wife. People have asked about the question of polygamy, especially in Africa. But I would say that our forefathers and people that were actually in different communities, polygamy was actually widely accepted. And even now, we do have people that still embrace polygamy. And that is for people that would be able to maybe perhaps provide. And they have the material wealth to be able to provide, not just the material wealth, but also provide in other ways, because material is one thing, things like money and resources are one thing, but also be able to provide in other ways, not just material. But yes, if it was one wife, it would be mke. If it was many wives, it would be wake. So mtoto is a child. Many are children, you would say watoto. A wife is a mke. If you're talking about many wives, you would say wake. For a man, if you're referring to a man in Swahili, we normally do say mwanaume, mwanaume, and that is for one man. For a man, you say mwanaume, mwanaume for a man. Let me just put it down. Mwanaume, mwanaume, mwanaume shupavu. For example, if it's a bold man or a brave man, you say mwanaume shupavu. This is for a man, mwanaume. So mwanaume also falls in the wa class of nouns. In the ngeli za nomino, it falls in the wa or the awa class of noun, which is the first class of noun. So you would say mwanaume anaongea pole pole. Mwanaume anaongea pole pole. So mwanaume basically refers to a man. If you're talking about a woman in Swahili, you normally do say mwanamke, mwanamke, mwanamke. For example, you might say mwanamke mzuri, which is a good woman. Mwanamke, mwanamke, which is for a woman. Mwanamke is for a woman. Mwanamke is for a woman. Mwanamke is for a woman. And therefore, you might say mwanamke mzuri, a good woman. Mwanamke mzuri, a good woman, a good woman, a good woman. That would be mwanamke, mwanamke mzuri, mwanamke, mwanamke, mwanamke mzuri, mwanamke mzuri, mwanamke mzuri. Remember, the word mzuri is used in different contexts, but it's a descriptive word, and it means it's an adjective. It means it's called vielelezi. In Swahili, we call adjectives vielelezi. And you would say mwanamke mzuri, mwanamke mzuri, you would mean a good wife. Yesterday, when we were learning about even greetings, we did say if someone was to say hello to you and they were to ask you, habari yako, it's a phrase in Swahili. And habari yako, it simply means, how are you? Habari yako, how are you? So therefore, you might say habari yako. If someone says habari yako to you, they are simply asking, how are you? And you respond and you do say nzuri, nzuri. So there's the difference between nzuri and zuri, nzuri, which means good, and mzuri. Mzuri refers to someone being well. Mzuri, someone being good. So therefore, there's a difference between nzuri for a situation which is okay or good, and mzuri. Mzuri is just a way it flows into describing a person. Mwanamke mzuri, mtoto mzuri. Mtoto is a child. So therefore, if you're talking about a good child, you would say mtoto mzuri, mtoto mzuri. Nonetheless, at that particular point, we're giving examples of words in the war class of noun or the a war class of noun. And also we have given examples in the ki v class of noun, which is the second noun class. But we shall take a short break. We shall enjoy a song. It's by Sanaipei Tande. But this is a cover of the song. Let me know what you think about the song. And then we shall be right back after this break. We shall be right back. Let me play you this and hear it. It's known as Amina. And let me know what you feel about the song. I share. It's done by a cover by a lady known as Iminza.
Amina, 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 Amina. Mama, makuza chozi, siyatafakari itavya juzi. Sikupenda kwangu kukuudhi mtu jana au bagui. Dada, makuza chozi, sijitie lawama kwa usushi. Kwani vita kati ya mandugu si ya Firauni. Wakati huniruhusu mimi kurekebisha zangu madhambi. Kwa hivyo naomba siku hii nikumbukie mazuri.
Juma, ti battery nera connect. Sio battery, si ndio? Sio battery, battery iko sawa. Sawa. So we are back with the live. Apologies for that. I do apologize for that. It's just a bit of a hit, but nonetheless, we are back. So I was playing as a song, and this is a song by a cover song by a lady known as Iminza, but the original song is known as Amina by Sanaipei Tande.
mama kwangu za chozi, siyatafakari vita vya juzi, sikupenda kwangu kukuudhi, mtu jana hawabagui, dada kwangu za chozi, sijitie na mama kwa usushi, kwani vita kati ya mandugu si ya Firauni, wakati hauniruhusuni kurekebisha zangu madhambi, kwa hivyo naomba siku hii nikumbukie mazuri, ningetaka mcheke siku ya mwisho, usiwe mpweke, mi bado niko na mshukuru Mola kwa kuwepo, nasema amina. Amina, 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 amina. Nafasi nyingine ilikuwa na wewe, nasikitika, ninaumia, lakini nina shukrani moyoni yangu wamini mawalonienzi wakati honiruhusuni kurekebisha yangu
That is yes, that is a song, and it's known as Amina. I just played as a song. It's known as Amina. It's a cover song. The original song was done by a lady known as Sanaipe Tande, and her music is really, really jamming. So welcome back to class. This is Swahili classes for the weekend. My name is Spikes, and in case you're joining us for the very first time, karibu sana. In Swahili, we do say you all much welcome. All umekaribishwa sana kwenye darasa letu la leo, which is you all very much welcome to our class for today. We are learning about nouns because it's important that we get to understand Swahili grammar, and we are learning about the noun classes. So therefore, I have said that you have 9 noun classes. We do have the singular form and also in the plural form. So in total, you do have 18 noun classes. The first noun class is known as the or class of noun, or the or class of noun. It constitutes of all the of all the words in the Swahili language that start with the consonant in their singular and the syllable wa in their plural form. For example, mwanafunzi, wanafunzi. Mwanafunzi is a student, one student. Many students, we call them wanafunzi. Mwanafunzi, wanafunzi. If you're talking about a baby, we say mtoto, mtoto in Swahili for one child. If you're talking about 2 children, you would say watoto. Mtoto, watoto. Mtoto, watoto. If you're talking about a wife, you would say mke for one wife. But if you're talking about many wives, you would say wake. And this is in the context of the African communities where we do have people being polygamous, which is widely accepted in many places. For example, if you go to Western Kenya, in Western Kenya, it has been a practice widely accepted by the communities, and not just in Western Kenya, but even in other parts of the country and also the continent, where a man would have like maybe 4 wives or 3 wives. And I was saying that is just the way the system is, and that is the way the community and the culture is in that place, and it's a norm. So you would say wake. Wake is for the wives. You would say wake is for the wives. But mwanamume, mwanamume is for a man. Mwanamume, it's an example. It's a thing that is a name that you can say. Mwanamume, mwanamume, and this is for a man. If you're talking about one man, you would say mwanaume. If you might talk about mwanaume shupavu, that would be a bold man. Mwanaume shupavu. Shupavu is just the way you represent it, bold or brave. That would therefore be mwanaume shupavu. If you're talking about a woman, you would say mwanamke. Mwanamke is for a woman. You might be talking about a good woman, then that would be mwanamke mzuri, and that falls in the wa class of noun or the a wa class of noun, because the syllable wa is used in the plural form of that particular word. So therefore, in a sentence, you might say mwanamke mzuri ameenda dukani. Mwanamke mzuri ameenda dukani. That would be a good man has gone into the store. Mwanamke mzuri ameenda dukani. That would be a good woman has gone to the store. Or you might say mtoto mzuri anasoma kitabu. Mtoto mzuri anasoma kitabu. That would be a good child is reading a book. A good child is reading a book. And that is the way you use it in the context of a sentence. But you have given examples of the second class of nouns. Very, very important as well. The key V. The key V class of noun. This constitutes all the words in the Swahili language that start with the syllable ki in their singular and then syllable V in their plural. I have talked about a book. We do say kitabu. Kitabu for a book. Kitabu. But if you're talking about many books, you would say vitabu. Vitabu. If you're talking about a knife, you do say kisu for one knife. If you're talking about many many knives, you would say visu. Visu. And therefore, those are adequate examples that we can just give to share and help you understand the second class of noun. The third class of noun is the me. The me or the ue. Ue. The me is also the ue class of noun. The me constitutes all the words in the in the Swahili language that start with the consonant in their singular and the syllable me in their plural. For example, mto. Mto is a river. When you talk about one river, you say mto. If you're talking about many rivers, you would say mito. Mito. M-I-T-O. Mito. So mto is a river. Mto is a river. Mto is a river. That is for one. Mto is a river. That is just one. If you're talking about many rivers, you would say mito. Mito. Mito is for rivers. Mito is for rivers. Mito is for rivers. And therefore, for example, right now, around April, it rains a lot in many places in East Africa. For example, in Rwanda, in Burundi, in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, it rains in most places in East Africa. So if someone wants to say that the river has flooded, they would say mto umefurika. Mto, M-T-O, mto umefurika, which is the river is flooded. But if you're talking about many rivers, you would say mito imefurika. Mito imefurika. And that is just the way you get to explain and have people understand that you are actually talking about a river, and you're giving them maybe perhaps a disclaimer. You're just trying to warn them. You're just trying to tell these people that it's dangerous, and wherever you're trying to get, it's dangerous, and therefore you're trying to warn them. So you would say tahadhari, mto umefurika. Mto umefurika. So that would be please beware that the river is flooded. Tahadhari, mto umefurika. That would be please beware the river is flooded. Please beware the river is flooded. And tahadhari is not to be confused with tafadhali. You know, tahadhari is not to be confused with tafadhali, because tafadhali means please. Tafadhali, you cannot say tafadhali mto umefurika, no, but you can say tahadhari mto umefurika, because you're trying to warn people that the river ahead has flooded. Maybe they're traveling and they are new to the place, so you're telling them tahadhari. Nawapa tahadhari, I'm giving you just a heads up that the river is flooded. The river is flooded. Or you might say njia haipitiki. Njia haipitiki. Njia simply means the way or the road. If someone is telling that the road is impassable, they would say njia haipitiki or njia imeharibika. So njia haipitiki is just someone telling you that the road ahead is impassable. Or they might say njia mbele yenyu, njia iliyo mbele yenyu imeharibika. So the road ahead is impassable. Or they might say tahadhari mto umefurika. So therefore, they are simply just saying that please beware that the river is flooded ahead. Please beware that the river is flooded ahead. and therefore you need to be very careful not to get yourself in trouble, because the river ahead of you is actually flooded, and you just need to take precaution. So tafadhali is for please. Tahadhari, let me just put it down. Tahadhari, tahadhari is beware. Tahadhari is beware. Is beware. Tahadhari is for beware. Beware. But tafadhali is for please. Tafadhali is for please. So those two words, they sound a bit similar, but they are very, very different in Swahili. One means please, the other one means beware. So beware, the road ahead is impassable. They would say tahadhari, njia mbele yenu imeharibika, all haipitiki. And then you would understand that the road ahead of you is actually impassable. And it's very important that you take note of the road being ahead of you being quite impassable. So there is also another word, which is yesterday we learned about the word jina. Jina is the name. For example, jina langu, my name is Spikes. Jina langu ni Spikes. So that would be my name is Spikes. So when talking about jina, it means name. Or if someone might say andika jina lako, they simply mean please write your name. Andika jina lako, it means write your name. Andika jina lako. Someone says andika jina lako tafadhali, that simply means please write your name. That will be andika jina lako tafadhali. Andika jina lako tafadhali. But there is a word which is also very close, and we have already mentioned it, which is njia. Njia and jina, they sound almost very close. Someone may say andika jina lako, which is write your name. Andika jina lako tafadhali. But someone might also say njia haipitiki, which is to mean that the road is impassable. So you have to know that some words in Swahili, they sound pretty much the same. But what you need to do is to make sure that you are cognizant of these particular words, and just know that you need to be be aware of these particular words that sound almost similar, but the meanings are very, very different. And so in Swahili, you might find some of those particular words. Some of the words that have the same spelling and pronunciation, but they would mean totally different things. So someone is talking about the same word, but this word has different meanings, and therefore if you do not contextualize what they are saying, then it means that there will be miscommunication. At the end of the day, there will be grave miscommunication, simply because you do not understand what is the context of this particular thing that they are talking about. But if you understand the context, then I believe you will be at a much better position to understand what is going on. So therefore, always ask yourself, what is the context? What is the context in this particular sentence? What is the context? And if you do understand the context, it is much easier and much better for you to be able to understand what is going on with that. This is Swahili class for the weekend, and learning. We get to ask questions. So if you would like to ask anything, feel free to interject, and you can ask a question, and I will be more than happy to respond to you in regard to anything that we are learning. It will be just a delight to teach you and to actually get you to understand the language a little bit much better, a little bit much easier, simply by just getting to look into some of those particular words. We shall be taking a short break. We shall enjoy a song which is known as Najuta, and you can let me know whether you love this particular song. It's a Swahili song. What you realize is that the music or the language itself, it's very easy for you to learn if you are to use all the tools at hand. You can listen to Swahili music, watch Swahili movies with subtitles, of course, And the more you get to interact with the language, the easier it becomes for you to understand what is going on. The easier it becomes for you to understand what is actually going on. So we shall take a short break, enjoy a song by Iminza, and let me know what you feel about this particular one. It's known as Najuta. Najuta is a phrase which means I regret. So people find themselves in different contexts, in love and in relationships. But then again, sometimes things happen and they regret the outcomes. But this is a song which is known as Najuta, and it's by Iminza once again. We shall play it, and then we shall be right back to continue with the class, the Swahili class.
Mtamwambiaje eti kuwa mimi nampenda? Mtamwelezaje eti bila yeye naugua? Mtamjulishaje kuwa roho yangu yaumia? Mtamwambiaje kuwa mimi najuta kukosana naye, kutengana naye, kuachana naye. Oh, mimi najuta kukosana naye, kutengana naye, kuachana naye. Oh, mimi najuta. Nilitega sikio mtaani kasikiza za wasengenyaji, eti yeye na yule wanamchumbaji, bila hata kujali au kuuliza maswali. Niliyaamini maneno nikamwaga kwa heri. Miezi ni kadhaa nami nalia, ningemrudia, lakini na tatizo. Mtamwambiaje eti kuwa mimi nampenda? Mtamwelezaje eti bila yeye naugua? Mtamjulishaje kuwa roho yangu yaumia? Mtamwambiaje kuwa mimi najuta kukosana naye, kutengana naye, kuachana naye. Oh, mimi.
Yes, that is the jam. It's known as Najuta, and Najuta simply means I regret. It simply means I regret. And I was just saying that when it comes to Swahili music, it's good that you listen to some of this Swahili music, and that you have an interest in also the film, with subtitles, Swahili movies with subtitles, and you can be able to improve your Swahili just gradually, but just getting to entertain yourself and also to learn as you entertain yourself from Swahili film and also Swahili music. My name is Spikes, jina langu ni Spikes na niko na furaha kuwa nanyi kwenye darasa letu la leo. My name is Spikes and I'm happy to be with you in our today's class. It's always a delight, always a pleasure to be here and learning Swahili. Remember, you can visit the official network website. It's www.BlackHotFireNetwork.com. And once you are on the network, please take a minute to check out the shows, because there are many shows on the network. It's www.BlackHotFireNetwork.com. Once you are on there, you can also check out some of the podcasts that have been recorded with the network. The blogs, we do have the African blog, we do have the news, so that you can stay abreast with whatever is happening with the world. We do have news, business news, we do have tech news, we do have all sorts of news on there, especially put together just for you. And for those that have been supporting the network, we thank you so much. Your support is never taken for granted. And for the rest of the team also, the shows are many. There are many shows. There's a show by Ashmani, the show with Kamlesh, the show with Ajobi, the show with the rest of the team, even Keith. There are many shows that you can get to enjoy, and make sure to subscribe and also turn on the notifications. The website, you can sign up on the notifications. You can join and be part of the BlackHotFire family team, and you can also turn on the notifications so that when you do so, you are able to find out when shows are happening or other different notifications that are made in regards to some of the articles, some of the news, and everything else in between on that particular platform. And also, you can patronize the network by simply buying. There's a store on the network where you can buy yourself some hoodies, you can buy t-shirts, you can buy hats, you can buy a whole lot of items, apparels on that particular platform. And there is also the nutritional store where you can buy nutritional supplements and improve on your well-being simply by getting some nutritional items on the BlackHotFire network. So you would go to blackhotfirenetwork.com and you will be able to get a hold of that. So my name is Spikes, and in case you're joining us for the very first time, once again, clip that. My name is Spikes, and in case you're joining us for the very first time, we want to appreciate you tremendous. We want to welcome you to the platform. And for those who have been with us, we want to appreciate your tremendous support. We never take your company and your support for granted. We always appreciate you taking your time and also like joining us to learn Swahili. Clip that. I always do say that it is important that you engage others in your journey as well. When you're learning a language, it is important that you engage maybe perhaps your family, maybe your colleagues, maybe your friends, because a language is a mode of communication and you're communicating with others. And therefore, when you engage these people on your journey, you would be able to just, try out some of these particular words, learn with them and things like that. When you learn a language and you're learning a language by your own self in isolation, it becomes somewhat boring or difficult. But when you involve other people on your journey, then it becomes much, much more productive and much, much more easier at the end of the day. So welcome back. We are learning about the noun classes. We did say that we have the me class of noun or the e class of noun. The me class of noun, it is for things that have to do with, for example, physical, what can I call them? Natural occurrences and physical, natural, natural icons, if I might call them so, for lack of a better word. I'm talking about the things like a river. Yes, a river. A river is a natural thing. We do have a mountain. Mlima. Mlima is a mountain. Mlima. M-I. Mlima. Mlima is a mountain. We do have a river. I did say a river. A river is a mto. It's for a river. We would have a forest. I'm talking about natural resources. A forest, we call it msitu. A forest, we call it msitu. So therefore, these words, they are Swahili words, or the Swahili nouns, yes, Swahili words, that start with the consonant in their singular, and then they start with the consonant, with a syllable word in their plural. So if you're talking about a forest in Swahili, we normally do say msitu. So if you're talking about a river, I did say you say mto. So if someone says mto umefurika in Swahili, this simply means the river is flooded. Mto umefurika. And I was saying around this particular time of the year, in April and late March, in April, there's a whole lot of places in the East African region where it is raining heavily. So therefore, you might find many rivers having flooded. And if someone is trying to give you a warning, they're just trying to warn you, then they would say tahadhari, which is beware. Tahadhari mto umefurika. That is beware, the river is flooded. And they're trying to warn you so that you do not get yourself in a jam or in a problem when you're trying to get from point A to point B. For example, in places like the DRC, where sometimes you do find that, logistically, it's a big challenge getting from one point to another point because of the bad roads. But we do have another example, msitu, which is also another natural thing. We do have mto, msitu, mlima. Mlima is a mountain. So if you're talking about the mountain, Mount Everest, you would say Mlima Everest. Mount Everest would be Mlima Everest. So Mlima Everest, that becomes Mount Everest. Mlima. So in their singular, they start with the consonant m. In their plural, they start with the syllable me. me also becomes the OE, the OE. So we shall be continuing to learn, and I shall be using some of these particular examples in different sentences. But if you do say ameukwea mlima, ameukwea mlima, that is they have climbed the mountain or they have ascended up the mountain. So that is ameukwea mlima. If someone says ameukwea mlima Kenya, for example, mtalii ameukwea mlima Kenya, then that would be the tourist has climbed up Mount Kenya. Mtalii ameukwea mlima Kenya. So we have learned already that we have, for example, the word mtalii. Mtalii is a tourist. Mtalii is a tourist. Mtalii is a tourist. So that is a tourist. If you're talking about many tourists, you would say watalii. Watalii. Watalii, watalii, watalii. Watalii is for tourist. Watalii is for tourist. So we do have mtalii for one. Mtalii is for one. But if you're talking about many of them, then you normally do say watalii. Mtalii, watalii. If you're talking about mtalii ametembea nchini Kenya, mtalii ametembea nchini Kenya, then that would be the tourist has visited Kenya. But if it's many tourists, you would say watalii wametembea. Watalii wametembea nchini Kenya. So that would be the tourists have visited Kenya. Tourists have visited Kenya. And if you're talking about watalii wazuri, then that would be good tourist. That would be good tourist. Personally, when I talk about tourism, I always do say that it is important that you travel, because travel is to see, and to travel simply just opens up your mind so that you can see possibilities and you can see other things also happening. And the more you travel, the more you get to see and learn things. So if you're talking about watalii is more than one tourist. So that is the present. Sorry, the plural. The plural of one. The plural of mtalii becomes watalii. So mtalii falls the wa class of noun. But if you're talking about a forest, you'd say the msitu. If it's many forests, you'd say misitu. So that falls in the mi class. And that is one of the ways in which you remember. And you can also use your fingers. You can also use your fingers to remember these noun classes. There are 9 of them, and you start with the wa or the awa. Then you go into the key V, Then you go into the me, which is also the OE. The me is also the OE. The me is also the OE. So therefore, there are many ways in which you can be able to remember that. And once you do, please make sure that you keep on practicing. It is important that you keep on practicing because practice makes perfect. But if you're talking about if you're talking about human beings, most of them fall in the whatever class of, I'm not talking about classes of humans, but I'm talking about whatever character or nature. I'm talking about a farmer, mkulima. I'm talking about a student, mwanafunzi. I'm talking about a man, mwanamume. I'm talking about a woman, mwanamke. I'm talking about a child, mtoto. I'm talking about a girl, msichana. I'm talking about a boy, mvulana. So all those particular words, I'm trying to look for a better word that represents persons, represents people or persons. Most of these words, they start with the wa. They fall in the wa class of noun. Mwalimu for teacher, mwanafunzi for student, mkulima for farmer, mwanabiashara for businessman, mwanahabari for a reporter. So persons, when you're talking about persons, they fall in the wa class of noun, and therefore it becomes a very, very important thing that we get to look into that, or we get to understand that, and we get to just make sure that we are understanding things. So we do have another noun class, which is the G-ma. The G-ma. The G-ma constitutes of all the words in Swahili that start with the syllable G. G in their the syllable G in their in their singular, and then they start with the syllable ma in their plural. For example, jicho. This is my eye. If I point to my eye like this and I say jicho, jicho is one eye. This is just one eye, jicho langu. But if I'm talking about many eyes, the both of them, I would say macho, macho. So that is jicho for an eye, jicho, jicho for an eye. Jicho is for an eye. But if you talk about many eyes, then you would say macho, macho. Someone says tazama kwa macho, they will say look with your own eyes. Tazama kwa macho yako, look with your own eyes. So macho is for eyes, macho. That is for eyes. It is for eyes. Macho is for eyes. So therefore, that falls in the G ma, G ma, G ma. If you're talking about thing like a stone, you're lifting up a stone like this. You have a stone in your palm and you lift it up like this. For a stone, we do say jiwe, jiwe. That is for a stone. Jiwe is for a stone. But in the plural form of it, the jiwe, in the plural form of it, it becomes mawe. It becomes mawe. So jiwe, mawe. Jiwe, mawe. So mawe. Mawe had become very popular last week because there was a boxer who kept on saying ongeza mawe. So mawe means stones. Mawe means stones. Mawe means stone. So that is for one jiwe, for one stone. Mawe is for many stones. Jiwe is for one stone, and mawe is for many stones. Jiwe is for one, and mawe is for many. So remember to keep on, try and remember some of these particular things. And I do know that with time, you would become better in the Swahili language. I always do say that you have many languages on the continent of Africa. And someone might always ask, clip that. We have many languages on the continent of Africa. And someone might ask, why is Swahili special? Swahili is the most prolific language on the African continent. It has over 150 million speakers on the continent. And therefore, we do feel that if we are looking for a language that would be the one to unite our people, either across East Africa, the Southern Africa, maybe perhaps in the West and in the Northern region, then I think Swahili will do the trick. And the Swahili is very, very easy to comprehend as compared to other languages. It's a Bantu language with Arabic influences. And it came about, it has grown, it has many borrowed words. And these borrowed words, most of them fall in the special class of consonants. So this special class of consonants, they include things like the habu. The special class of consonant is the DH. The DH in the habu. The DH is a special class of consonant. So for example, in the word dhahabu, for example, in the word dhahabu, that simply means gold. It means gold. Dhahabu. So in that word, it has the DH, and this DH is a special class of consonant in that regard. The DH, the special class of consonant in that regard. If you're talking about another thing like garama means the price. Garama means the price. So garama means the price. So the GH in that particular word, garama, it means price. You might say garama, or you might also say bay. You would say garama, or you might also say bay. So if you're talking about bay gali, you're talking about an expensive price. An expensive price, bay gali. So in that word, gali is high, expensive. Gali means expensive. So it also has a special class of consonant. It means expensive, expensive, gali. Don't say bay gali. But there's a difference. When you say gali, it has that H, so therefore the way you roll it, it becomes bay gali. But there's a difference between gari and gari. Gari is like G-A-R-I. This is a car. Gari is a car. So the ga is just a normal syllable. It's not a special consonant because it's the ga. Gari. Someone says, nataka gari yangu, or nitanunua gari yangu, that would mean I will buy my car, or my own car. But if someone says, gari yake alinunua kwa bei gali, it means that the car they bought they bought it at an expensive price. They bought it at an expensive price. So at any point, you can feel free to ask a question. You can always feel free to ask a question. You can interject and ask a question, any question for that particular matter, regarding any of the things that you have learned. I have said an eye is referred to as jicho. If you're talking about my eye, you would say jicho langu. You would say jicho langu. If you're talking about my eyes, you would say macho yangu, because these are the eyes. You'd say macho yangu. And the parts of the body, it is very, very important. It is very, very important that we always learn about the parts of the body. And the parts of the body are not difficult to learn in Swahili. They are not difficult. They are not difficult to learn. Because if you're talking about your head, you would say kichwa. If you're talking about your head, you would say kichwa. And kichwa falls in the key V class of noun. It falls in the key V class of noun. Kichwa. Someone might say kichwa changu. Kichwa changu kinauma. For example, if you're having a headache, let's say habari yako, that is how are you, and you would respond and say nzuri. Nzuri means well. But you might say lakini, you're doing well. Lakini kichwa changu is my head. Kinauma. Kichwa changu kinauma. Niko salama, which is I am well, lakini kichwa changu kinauma. Then that would be I am well, but my head is aching. I am well, but my head is aching. That is how you would say I am well, but my head is aching. I am well, but my head is aching. And it's not difficult to remember that. It's not difficult to remember that. It is not difficult to remember that. So we do have these particular words. And I'm trying to share my screen just to show you some of the parts of the body in Swahili. For example, the head, it's known as kichwa, the head. For the hair, we call it nywele. For the hair, we call it nywele. For the ears, we call it sikio. Sikio, we call it the ear, we call it sikio. For the mouth, we call it kinywa or mdomo. Kinywa or mdomo. The more popular word is mdomo. But if you're talking about the nose, we call it pua. Pua for the nose. If you're talking about the teeth, we call it meno. For one tooth, it's called gino. For many tooth, we call it meno. If you're talking about the hand, we call it mkono. So therefore, you might hear someone says inua mkono tafadhali. That would mean raise your hand tafadhali. Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand, please. If you're talking about the wrist, you would say kiganja. The wrist, you would say kiganja. And these are some of, if you're talking about the ears, I did say you would talk about maskio. If you're talking about the elbow, you would say kisigino. For the elbow, you would actually say kisigino. And it is very, very important that we also remember, if you're talking about the eyes, it's macho, the ears is masikio, the head is kichwa. But if you go further, you're talking about your stomach. For your stomach, you would say tumbo, tumbo. So let me just put it down, tumbo, T-U-M-B-O. That is for stomach, stomach. For the stomach, for the stomach is tumbo. Kichwa is for the head. Kichwa is for the head. Kichwa is for the head, and kichwa is for the head. And if you're talking about the leg, you're talking about the leg. For the leg, you would say mguu, mguu, mguu. So for the head, you would say mguu. That is for the head, you would say mguu. For the head, you would say mguu. But if you're talking about maybe perhaps the back, your backbone, your back, you would say mgongo, mgongo, mgongo. M-G-O-N-G-O, mgongo. So that is for the back, the back. If you're talking about maybe perhaps your hand, you would say mkono. The leg, it's mguu. The stomach, it's tumbo. The stomach is tumbo. If you're referring to your ears, your one ear is kio. You're talking about 2 ears, you'd say masikio. If you're talking about your eyes, one is jicho, two of them is macho. So all these particular parts of the body, it's important because you might be trying to explain that you're not feeling well, and someone might just wondering, what are you talking about? And you're talking about mguu unauma. Unauma is a phrase which means it's aching. Unauma. If you're talking about the head, you might say kichwa kinauma, because uma, it means to ache. UMA, it means to ache. And therefore, if someone says kichwa kinauma, it means that the head is aching. If someone says mkono unauma, the hand is aching. If we talk about the stomach, tumbo linauma, then that would be the stomach is aching. And maybe perhaps you're trying to get some assistance or some help, and therefore you're asking for someone really to just help out. But if you're not feeling well, then that would be a case for the doctor. You would say daktari, daktari. Ninataka kumuona daktari. Ninataka, which is I want to see a doctor. That would be ninataka kumuona daktari. Ninataka kumuona daktari. So that is exactly how you say it. I want to see a doctor. Ninataka kumuona daktari. I want to see a doctor. Ona is a phrase, is a word which means to see. It's a verb. It means a see. And remember, when we were learning last week, we did say, but if you did say ku before as a prefix for a verb, a root verb, then it means that you want to. You say kuona, that means to see. If you say kukula, it means to eat. If you say kutembea, it means to walk. If you say kusikia, it means to hear. So all these verbs, we shall be getting to learn verbs after the nouns, and we shall be getting to learn how they come about, how they fit in the sentence. But remember, we do use the SVO, which is a subject, verb, object, and this subject, verb, object, that is simply how you get to learn they say it, subject, verb, object. So, for example, mtoto anaenda shule. Mtoto is a subject, and anaenda is a verb. Anaenda is a verb, enda is a verb, and shule happens to be the object, where they are going or where they're headed. So you say mtoto anaenda shule, that will be the child is going to school. The child is going to school. The child or the student is actually going to school. And it's not difficult, but still important that you know that a doctor, we do say daktari for doctor. We do say daktari. That is for a doctor. So therefore, if you wanted to say, I want to see a doctor, you would say, ninataka kumuona daktari. Ninataka kumuona daktari. And that would be, I want to see a doctor. I want to see a doctor is ninataka kumuona daktari. And simply that is the way it is put. I want to see a doctor. And or you might say, nimetoka kumuona daktari, which is I'm from seeing a doctor. And for the hospital, it doesn't change. You simply do say hospitali. If you go to like a big hospital, hospitali is for hospital. It doesn't change. But if you're talking about a big hospital, you say hospitali kubwa. That would be kubwa is the word to show an adjective that shows the size. Size is big. So if you went to a big hospital, you might say hospitali kubwa. Hospitali kubwa. Hospitali kubwa. For example, if someone says hospitali kubwa Kenyatta, we do have the referral hospital, which is known as Kenyatta right here in Kenya, in Nairobi. So you'd say hospitali kubwa ya Kenyatta. And that would be a big hospital, or that big referral hospital in the Kenyatta one. So if you do have a question, tafadhali uliza. Kama uko na swali, tafadhali uliza. For medicine, we just call it dawa. Dawa. If someone says nipe dawa, that is a medicine. If someone says nipe dawa, you're trying to get some medicine. Maybe your head is aching, or maybe you have other challenges, and you need some assistance. Then you would say nipe dawa tafadhali, please give me some medicine. Nipe dawa is give me medicine. Nipe dawa, and that is give me medicine. Give me medicine, which is nipe dawa. And if someone happened to give you some medicine and they fixed you, then you would actually say asanti sana kwa dawa ulionipa. Asanti sana kwa dawa ulionipa, which is thank you so much for the medicine that you gave me. Asante sana kwa dawa ulionipa. Thank you so much for the medicine that you gave me. And it's not difficult. You just need to practice and make perfect. And that is just in a situation or a scenario where you want some assistance. You say, tafadhali nipe dawa, which is please give me medicine. Or you might be thankful for or appreciating that you've been given some medicine, and therefore you would say, you would actually say asante sana kwa dawa ulionipa. So therefore that would be thank you so much for the medicine. Thank you so much for the medicine, that you gave me. Clip that. These are Swahili classes for the weekend, and we want to appreciate everyone for being part of the BlackHotFire Network Swahili classes for the weekend. My name is Spikes, and remember you can check out archives of previous classes, of the Swahili classes, previous classes on the BlackHotFire Africa YouTube channel, and also on this particular current channel that you're watching the videos, this live video on. Feel free to interact with us. You can ask a question, or you can reach out. You can write to us via email, blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com, and I will be more than glad to respond to you and regarding any of the issues that we get to discuss right here, and any of the matters arising from our Swahili classes. I will be more than happy to respond to you and help you understand the language better. If you're planning to visit Africa, especially East Africa, and you haven't been here before, we do have languages that are spoken here. If you come to a country such as Kenya, we do have 47 different communities. So for the 47 different communities, we have about 47 different languages. If you go to Ethiopia, they have about 81 different communities, and therefore they have 81 languages. If you go to Nigeria, they have about 200 different communities, and therefore the languages are also many. They do have about 200 different languages. If you go to Cameroon, about 150. If you go to Rwanda, about 3 of them. So in totality, the African continent has so many beautiful languages. Clip that. The African continent has so many beautiful languages, and we aspire to get to explore cultures, to explore the languages, and that is why we are here as a BlackHotFire Network teaching Swahili, so that if you are interested in maybe perhaps conducting business, in visiting, in relocating and moving to any part of the East African community, it would be easier for you to become integrated or reintegrated through just your understanding and your knowledge of this beautiful language of Swahili. So feel free. You can ask questions at any particular point. You can also interact with us on our website. It's www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. And once you check out these particular classes, it is also important that you give us feedback. So you can share your feedback with us, and you can simply just write to us, blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com, and it will be a delight to have you also invite your friends over to join us for class, and so that we can be able to continue learning. Remember to check out other shows on the BlackHotFire Network website. We have shows on the week, during or over the week. We do have podcasts that you can get to enjoy and check out on that particular platform. And also you can patronize the network by getting yourself some items from the nutritional store, or you can get yourself some items from the apparel store. We have hoodies, we have t-shirts, we have baseball caps, we have a whole lot of items on that particular website, which is www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. Clip that. Thank you so much for being together with us. Like I did say, you can support the network simply by showing love and support by patronizing the platform, getting your t-shirts on there, your apparels or nutritional items on the nutritional store, such as supplements and many other items on there as well. Thank you so much. Your time is never wasted with us on the BlackHotFire Network, especially with this particular class. Your valuable time is never wasted. That is why I urge you to check out the videos once again. Maybe perhaps you may have been busy, but you can watch the playback of this particular video just to learn more of what you have been teaching right here on the BlackHotFire Network. So much peace and love. I want to wish you a happy and a productive week ahead. New month of April. Clip that. I want to wish you a very, very productive and prosperous month of April. And time is moving pretty fast. And I do hope that you are able to achieve with utmost zeal and passion. You're able to focus and go for whatever you choose to go for, and all your endeavors may bear fruits. So my name is Spikes, and thank you so much. We shall be continuing our class next week, and we shall hope to learn more of this beautiful language. Remember to always keep it interactive. It would have been much better if you can join us as we do the live show, so that you can ask a question and we can interact as you ask a question. That would be much ideal than watching the playback. The playback is also good if you're trying and keen on learning. Then I think it will be of great help to you. Once again, thank you so much. Until next time, much peace and love. We want to thank Keith. Clip that. Thank you so much, Keith, for giving us this wonderful platform. It's always a delight to have these beautiful connections in Africa, outside Africa, in South America, in North America, in Canada, in different parts of the world. People just coming through and connecting. We do say that iron sharpens irons, and it is important that we connect as an African people and stand in unity, because united we stand and divided we fall. Till next time, much peace and love. Kwaheri. Enjoy your beautiful new week ahead.